Baron Productions presents Lot number 249 by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Part 1. The Strange Acquaintance. Of the dealings of Edward Bellingham at the Old College in Oxford,
If you had seen what I have seen.
and of the great terror of Abercrombie Smith,
I have been within hand grip of the devil tonight.
it is likely that the whole truth will never be known. It all began in the year of 1884, when on one spring night, Smith and his old school friend Hasty were strolling home through the grounds of the college from the river.
I say, Smith, have you made any acquaintance with your new dorm mates yet?
What, the two men who live in the rooms below mine? Hardly. I've been too busy studying. Why? Do you know them?
As much as I'd like.
What's that supposed to mean?
Well, to be fair, there's nothing much amiss with Monkhouse Lee.
You mean the thin one?
He's gentlemanly enough. The only trouble is you can't know him without knowing Bellingham.
The larger one? He seems pleasant. We nod and smile in passing at any rate.
Well, if I were you, I'd leave it at that and no more.
Why? What's up with him? Drink? Cards? Women? You never used to be so critical.
Ha! You evidently don't know the man, or you wouldn't ask. There's something damnable about him. Something reptilian. He's no fool, though. They say he's the finest student of Eastern languages this college or anyone in Oxford has ever seen.
So that's what he's studying. Well, there's nothing wrong with that.
No, but
And why do you say you can't know Lee without knowing Bellingham?
he's engaged to his sister, Evelyn. That's why. She's such a bright little girl. It's disgusting to see that brute with her. A toad and a dove. That's what they remind me of.
And this is in no way due to the fact that you'd rather be courting her yourself?
No. It's just that... Well, I've known her ever since she was a little girl, and
You show every card in your hand, old chap. I tell you what, if every man in the world shared your brand of moral manliness, we'd all be... What the hell was that?
it came from your apartment. Up there, the open window.
That's Bellingham's room. Come on.
Surely you're not going to... I'm not chasing after Bellingham, whatever's happened.
Leaving his companion below, Smith raced inside and up the spiral staircase onto the second landing. The door to Bellingham's room was unlocked.
Lee, what's going on?
Smith, is that you? Get in here.
I heard a cry from below. I wondered if... Good heavens!
Smith stood as if frozen upon the threshold of Bellingham's study. The chamber was like no other he had ever seen before. Walls and ceiling were thickly covered with 1,000 strange relics from Egypt and the East. Tall, angular statuettes bearing vicious weapons adorned the mantelpiece. Figures of Horus, Isis, Osiris, and viper-crowned monarchs peered down from every niche and shelf. While across the ceiling, a true son of the Nile, a great hanging-jawed crocodile was slung with a double noose.
It's like the tomb of an ancient pharaoh.
In the centre of the room a table had been placed, upon which, resting in its open sarcophagus, was the horrible withered form of what could only be an ancient Egyptian mummy. The thing lay half out of the case, with its claw-like hand and bony forearm resting upon the table. Next to it was an old yellow scroll of papyrus, and in front of that, in a wooden armchair, eyes wide in a horrified stare, sat the owner of the room himself.
It's Bellingham. Look at him, I think he's ill.
Not to worry, Lee. I'll see to him. Ned? I say, Ned, can you hear me?
My God, he's dying.
No, only a faint, I think. Here, help me lift him. You take his feet, I'll take his shoulders. Now, onto the sofa.
Right you are.
There. Now, if we undo his collar and give him some water, he should be fine. What has he been up to? Do you know?
No idea. Like you, I heard the cry and ran up here. I know him pretty well, you know. He's not normally one to frighten easily. But that look in his eyes.
I know, and his heart's going like a pair of castanets. He seems to be all frightened to pieces. Here, chuck that water over him.
Right-ho.
What? Oh. What are you chaps doing here?
Hello, old boy. Seems you gave yourself quite a turn.
I did?
Yes, but you're all right now. I'm Smith, by the way. I keep the room above yours.
Smith's a medical student. Very lucky, really. If he hadn't happened to come back just now, I don't know what I'd have done with you.
Ah, yes. Ah, very good of you to come in. What a fool I am. Oh, my God, what a fool.
Now, look here, just stop that. Your nerves are all of a jangle. What made you cry out like that, anyway?
I don't quite...
It was that mummy on the table there, wasn't it? I wish you'd give up playing with the horrid thing, old boy. It's beastly and morbid, you know. I can't think what little Evelyn would think if she knew about it. And what about this scroll here? What's that all about?
Ah, yes, I'd better put that away. It's valuable.
You needn't panic, man. We're not going to rob you.
I wonder, sir, if whether you would be as cool as you are if you had seen what I have seen this night.
Seen? Seen what?
Oh, nothing. I meant that I wonder if you could sit up at night with a mummy without trying your nerves. Do you know anything of the Eastern languages, Smith?
No, not a word, I admit.
Ah, but what a strange thing unconsciousness is. How long was it from when you heard me cry out until I came to my senses?
Some 4 or 5 minutes, I think.
Really? And yet I could not tell from my own sensations if it were seconds or weeks. Now that gentleman on the table was packed up in the days of the 11th dynasty, some 40 centuries ago, and yet, if he could find his tongue, he would tell us that this lapse of time has been but a closing and reopening of the eyes. He really is a singularly fine mummy.
Indeed. Well, let's have a look at him.
Smith stepped over to the table and looked down with a professional eye at the twisted form in front of him. The features, though horribly discoloured, were perfect, and 2 little nut-like eyes still lurked in the depths of the black hollow sockets. The gaunt ribs with their parchment-like covering were exposed, but the lower limbs were wrapped round with coarse yellow bandages. There was a suggestion of energy about the thing, which gave even Smith's practical mind a sickening feeling.
Very impressive, Bellingham.
I don't know his name. You see, the outer sarcophagus with the inscriptions is missing, so I call him lot number 249. That was his number at the auction when I picked him up.
He would have been quite the giant in his day, 6 feet tall at least. And look at those knotted bones, too.
He'd be a nasty fellow to tangle with.
To say the least. Well, as fun as this has been, gentlemen, I'm afraid I shall have to call it a night. It's late, and I want to get at least another hour's study in before bed.
You're not going already, are you?
Yes, I'm afraid I must. And if you want my advice, with your nervous system, I should take up some less morbid field of study.
Oh, I'm not nervous as a rule, I think you'll find.
Then I wish you good luck. Good night, gentlemen.
In this strange way began the acquaintance of Smith and Bellingham. Often he'd call by Smith's rooms and, despite the latter's protests, would stay until the small hours came, talking with great passion, bordering, in Smith's opinion, on insanity.
Ah, it is a wonderful thing, is it not, Smith, to feel that one can command the powers of good and evil, a ministering angel or a demon of vengeance. I sense you can understand my meaning. As for Lee, well, he is a good fellow, an honest fellow, but he is quite without strength or ambition. He would not make a fit partner for a man with a great enterprise. He would not make a fit partner for me.
Just as you say, Ned. I'm afraid I think very little of matters of good and evil. I'm a medical man. Speaking of which, I really must turn in. I have a lecture early tomorrow morning, if you wouldn't mind.
But of course. Adieu for the present, my good sir. Watch where you're going, man!
Begging your pardon, Mr. Bellingham, sir.
Blind old fool.
Everything all right, Styles?
Yes, thank you, sir. Just thought you might care for a hot cup of tea before bed, sir.
Oh, thanks a lot. Just set it down on the desk, would you?
Very good, sir. So, if you please, do you think Mr. Bellingham's all right?
All right?
Oh, all right in the head, sir.
Yes, why shouldn't he be?
Well, I don't know, sir. His habits have changed a lot of late. He's not the same man as he used to be, though I make free to say he was never quite one of my gentlemen, like Mr. Hasty or yourself, sir. He's took to talking to himself something awful. I wonder it don't disturb you. I don't know what to make of him, sir.
I don't know what business it is of yours, Styles.
Well, I takes an interest, Mr. Smith. It may be forward of me, but I can't help it. I sometimes feel as if I was mother and father to my young gentleman. It all falls on me when things go wrong and the relations come. But for Mr. Bellingham, sir, I want to know what it is that walks about his room sometimes when he's out, and when the door's locked on the outside.
You're talking nonsense, Styles.
Well, maybe so, sir, but I heard it more than once with my own ears. There's someone else in Mr. Bellingham's rooms. Somebody he doesn't want us to know about. Anyway, you ring the bell if you want me.
Abercrombie Smith gave little heed to the gossip of the old manservant, but a small incident occurred a few days later upon Bellingham's next visit.
Of course, that was after my excursion to the rock tombs of Beni Hassan in Upper Egypt. Have I told you about that?
I don't believe so.
Well, I was on my way to Nubia via the lush banks of the Nile when I happened upon a rather curious...
Just a minute. Isn't that your door I can hear opening?
What? No, I don't think so.
It was. That definitely came from your landing. Some fellow's gone in or out of your room.
But I keep it locked. No one could have managed to.
Why, now I can hear someone coming up the stairs outside.
Just a moment, I'll take care of this.
Strange. What's got him so panicked all of a sudden?
Just as I thought. It was that fool of a dog of mine. Somehow managed to push the door open.
I didn't know you kept a dog.
Oh, I haven't had him long. I must get rid of him, really. He's quite a great nuisance.
He must be, if you find it so hard to shut him up. Why not let Styles take care of him?
Styles? He's too valuable for that old man.
This interview left a disagreeable impression upon Smith's mind.
Well, he was lying about the dog. That step on the stairs was human, not animal. Could Styles be right? Is someone pacing Bellingham's room when he's not there? If so, then who? Could it be a woman? It would mean disgrace and expulsion if he's caught. That would account for his falsehood. And yet, how could Bellingham keep a woman in his rooms without being discovered? Enough, Smith. You've more important things to focus on than Bellingham. This final exam, for one thing. If you pass it, you'll be a fully qualified doctor at last. Come on, back to your books.
Oh, really, Smith? You can't spend all your time cooped up in that little room studying.
I've come out with you today, haven't I?
Taking an afternoon stroll by the river hardly constitutes an active social life, my friend. Besides, you missed all the fun last night.
Oh, yes. What's happened now, then?
Well, you remember Long Norton? Used to room with me back in freshman year. He's only gone and got himself attacked, poor devil.
He's what?
I'm serious. Just as he was turning out of the high street into the grounds of the old college.
But who?
Aye, there's the rub. If you'd said what, that'd be nearer the mark. Norton swears it was not human. And indeed, from the scratches on his throat...
What then? Have we come down to spooks?
Well, no, I don't think that's quite the idea either. I'm inclined to think that if any showman has lost a great ape lately, and the brute is in these parts...
Makes sense, I suppose.
You know there's that big elm tree hanging over the path near the wall? Well, Norton thinks the thing dropped down on him out of the tree. Anyhow, he was nearly strangled by two arms, which he says were as strong and as thin as steel bands. He saw nothing but only those beastly arms that tightened and tightened on him. He yelled his head nearly off, and a couple of chaps came running, and the thing was over the wall like a cat. He never got a fair sight of it the whole time. It gave Norton a shake-up, I can tell you.
A garrotter, most likely.
Very possibly. By the way, your new friend Bellingham would be pleased if he heard about it.
Oh?
Yes. He has a grudge against Norton ever since they fell out last winter. But, my dear friend, whatever's the matter? You look as if you've been struck by something deadly.
Oh, nothing. Just, sorry. Just a little distressed of late. I think I must be reading too hard.
I wouldn't be at all surprised.
But it was not overwork that had turned Smith's face a nasty shade of pale. For, as he made his way back along the path to the old college, darker suspicions than Hasty's escaped ape theory arose in his ordinarily scientific brain.
Norton falls out with Bellingham. Norton gets attacked at night by an unknown assailant. And someone's pacing Bellingham's room while he's not there. Could these two things be connected?
He crept inside and quietly up the spiral staircase, keen to avoid his neighbour while fears clouded his mind. But as he neared the top, he came upon yet another scene.
You fool, Monkhouse! You'll be sorry!
Very likely, but you can threaten all you want. Your engagement to Evelyn's off, I'll see to that.
Just don't you forget your promise.
Oh, I'll keep that. I won't speak, but I'd rather my sister was in her grave. Once and for all, it's off. She'll do what I say. We don't want to see you again.
Oh, you won't, sir. You can have my promise on that.
I say, Lee, what's the...
Sorry, Smith. I'd rather not chat right now if it's all the same.
Oh, righto then, old chap. So, now Lee and Bellingham have fallen out. So much so that he's called off the man's betrothal to his sister. What could have caused the quarrel? And what about the promise? The one Bellingham's so anxious that Monkhouse Lee should keep? There's something not right here, and I intend to find out what.
Lot number 249 featured the voices of Daniel Wilmot as Abercrombie Smith, Lee Gemmell as Edward Bellingham, Paul Toy as Hasty, Matt Patterson as Monkhouse Lee, Stephen Mawson as Styles, and Natalie Rowe as the narrator. The script was based on the story by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, adapted to radio by Daniel Wilmot, and produced by Baron Productions.